Well, let's stay with this story and speak now to the Police Portfolio Committee Chairperson, Ian Cameron, who talks to us from Cape Town this evening. Mr. Cameron, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. I want to go back to some of your remarks during that meeting, and you expressly said that there needs to be urgency given the seriousness of the allegations here. And in line with that, do you think that the ad hoc committee is going to be able to deal with this with the speed that is required?
Thank you. So one of the benefits of an ad hoc committee is its focus and specialization. So when you go look at the way an ad hoc committee is established, it's very specifically mandated. And therefore, I think if mandated correctly and the terms of reference are set up correctly, it's going to be a very focused committee, and it will zoom in on the very specific institutional failures and obviously allegations too. So I think so. Obviously, it's time-bound as well. It's not something that can just continue forever. There needs to be very clear time parameters set, and this will obviously also assist in creating the relevant urgency and accountability to get to a conclusion.
That's a very important component, the time factor. Give or take, you going to adopt this ad hoc committee formally on Wednesday next week. What is the amount of time you think it's going to take for the committee to present a report to Parliament?
So the general feeling today, and I remember I'm just sharing what was the feeling from this shared committees or the joint committee process today, was that it shouldn't take longer than a time of 3 months. There was a very strong feeling that there needs to be very consistent and interval type of feedback to the public as well in terms of transparency. We even went as far today, for example, in just choosing the right remedy, that we actually invited the legal advisors of Parliament to also come and present publicly during the process. I think it's critical that we take the public into confidence with whatever we choose regarding this very process. And that's why we wanted to make sure that especially today's deliberations, even though quite robust at times, were as open and as transparent as possible, that people understand the processes going into this.
Yeah, I know that the terms of reference are yet to be finalized, but do you envisage this ad hoc committee also having powers to subpoena witnesses, those that may not voluntarily want to come and give evidence?
Absolutely. So that is one of the powers that such an ad hoc committee has. Remember, the committees in Parliament, generally speaking, already also have that power. So definitely. And I think what is good about this is the fact that Parliament is perfectly positioned in terms of the Constitution, and especially holding the executive to account for such a committee to actually be very successful.
Yeah. There was a very interesting element discussed in this committee meeting, and that is that parties that have laid criminal charges, particularly against the police minister, should they or should they not be invited to participate in this ad hoc committee? Do we have a final word on that tonight?
Yeah, so we don't yet. The specific question was actually being the complainant in some of the cases against police management quite a few weeks ago. You'd remember the arrest of several of the high-ranking officers in the crime intelligence division in the South African Police Service. And the question that was asked by one of the members from the Justice Committee specifically was to say that, can you be a complainant in a case implicated or touched on by General Mkhwanazi, and also then sit on the same committee regarding the case that you complained about? That was the question. Obviously, we'd need to get the relevant feedback from Parliament's legal advisory as well. And this would obviously then also need to be considered when the ad hoc committee is established.
Yeah. The issues within police management, Mr. Cameron, those have not stopped. In fact, there were further developments yesterday. The Deputy Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya, was placed on a leave of absence, and he came on the channel overnight and said that why is it that it would seem action is being taken against him and perhaps not others? Where do you stand, particularly as you lead the Portfolio Committee on Police? Do you think that General Masemula is on the right track here, or is possibly further factionalizing the police management?
I'd like to take a step back. Firstly, it's important that I must emphasize that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So that's the first point. And I need to make sure, and we try to stress that today during our deliberations, that we can't just choose a side and then go with that because it is the populist or the emotive thing to do. I understand the emotion behind it, but we need to be clear, especially from a parliamentary point of view, that we need to be as objective as we can. Regarding General Sibiya, there's no such thing as being on a leave of absence. So I still want to understand under what regulation they did that, because SAPS's disciplinary code indicates two specific things. The one is that you either need to be suspended or the other that you are temporarily transferred. So I don't understand the leave of absence part. He falls under the same disciplinary code as all other South African Police Service members. The only members exempt from that, also just to a certain extent, is the National Commissioner himself and the different provincial commissioners. That being said, it is important to understand that suspension shouldn't just be seen in a punitive way. Suspension happens in order for two things to happen. The one is the protecting the integrity of the investigation and protecting the integrity of the institution. So I think that's the way that it should be done, and everyone implicated should be treated as such. Obviously, you need to use use your discretion regarding standout type of matters. But generally speaking, if you're implicated in serious misconduct or serious allegations are made from a substantive source, you need to be suspended to protect the integrity of the institution and the investigation.
Everyone implicated should be treated in the same way. Can I impute from that statement that General Mkhwanazi should also be placed on some kind of leave? Is that what you are essentially saying?
So if he himself, General Sibiya's leave of absence has been decided due to him having allegations made against him by General Mkhwanazi, I think if the same type of thing is done and there's an investigation into alleged misconduct by General Mkhwanazi, then yes, absolutely. I'm not aware of such an investigation, and therefore I can't really say. Yeah. But if it were exactly the same as with General Sibiya or with Minister Mchunu, then surely, yes, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Final question, Ian Cameron, and you're welcome to say, look, I'm a committee chairperson and I can't get involved in that. But bottom line is that you are a politician, you belong to a political home, and so I'd like for you to wear your DA hat for a moment. Today, the president says in Parliament that he would have set a dangerous precedent, that he fires Mchunu based on one-sided claims. There is the disquiet about him having fired a deputy minister of the DA, and this is someone who wrote to the president, never got responses, and weeks later, he gets fired on the spot. Do you think that the president has exercised his powers fairly here? Yes, he has the power to hire and fire.
No, I think he's already set a very dangerous precedent out of the unfair way in which he treated Deputy Minister Whitfield. I think, and I think it's a total double standard that for something like that you get sacked. But for allegations and a said investigation, and the president has been briefed. Remember, the South African Police Service management has met with the president. So just saying that they don't know about anything is also not accurate. I don't know how much they know, but all I'm saying is I think he's already set a very dangerous precedent out of the unfair treatment of one versus the other. All that we're saying in the DA is that you need to be consistent in the way that you handle these types of matters. And if something less serious results in firing someone, then surely it needs to be considered for far more serious matters than what was seen with someone else.
All right. Quick throwaway question as I let you go. In comes your hat as chair of the Police Portfolio Committee again. The Minister of State Security says investigations are underway to look into possible threats of a coup d'etat. Where are we? What do you know? And is this internal or an external threat? But I think the Minister of Defense has already sort of said this threat is more internal than external.
Yeah, so with the limited, you're confusing me with all my hats tonight, but with the limited information to my disposal, I would say that it's likely more internal. I think there's a massive factional battle within the South African Police Service specifically, and in the broader security sector, but with the South African Police Service really at the center of it. I think it's been brewing for a very long time. You must remember the fight regarding for example, the Secret Service Fund has been ongoing for many, many years, more than a decade that we know of. And we know that fund was previously used and abused for political gain. And therefore, I think controlling that may still be a big reason for some of the unhappiness that we are hearing about. I would be surprised if it can really already be defined as a potential coup of some kind, although I think water is really murky at the moment. There are so many moving parts. I mean, tongue in cheek, if you think about it, we currently have 3 police ministers. I mean, we've got Minister Mchunu on leave of absence. We've got Minister Mantashe, and we've got Professor Kachalia, and we've got 2 deputy ministers. I don't even know who to write to anymore.
Ian Cameron, thank you very much for your time. And these are matters that you are all going to be dealing with come that ad hoc committee. Thank you very much for your time, sir, this evening.
South Africa's parliament is making moves, big moves. In response to the explosive allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, lawmakers have agreed to form an ad hoc committee that will dig deep into the claims. These aren't just any claims. They involve allegations of political interference, compromised police integrity, and senior officials potentially being entangled in corruption and organized crime. This committee, when finalized, could be a game changer for the way South Africans see justice and accountability at the highest levels of power. So, what's really going on here? Let's rewind for a second. KZN's top cop, General Mkhwanazi, recently took South Africa by storm when he publicly revealed that he had faced consistent political interference while trying to do his job. Not just whispers or pressure, but deliberate obstacles put in place to hinder investigations, including those into some very powerful individuals. The country has been reeling ever since. Social media is buzzing, civic organizations are lighting up the streets with candlelight vigils, and ordinary South Africans are watching this unfold with a mix of hope and suspicion. Enter Parliament. Members of both the Police Portfolio Committee and the Justice Committee came together this week and decided enough is enough. It's time for action. They've now committed to setting up an ad hoc committee to deal squarely with the matter. According to committee chair Ian Cameron, there's a shared understanding that whatever happens next must be done transparently and with the full confidence of the public. This isn't the time for secrecy or political maneuvering, this is the time for real answers. But why is this such a big deal? Because this could be the first time in a long while that Parliament is seen actually taking the people seriously. Think about it. The trust between the public and law enforcement in South Africa has been eroded by years of scandal, inaction, and high-profile cover-ups. This moment presents a rare opportunity to turn that around. If this committee is structured properly, if its terms of reference are comprehensive and uncompromised, and if it truly follows the evidence, then we might see some long overdue accountability. That said, skepticism remains thick in the air. South Africans are no strangers to commissions, investigations, and committees that produce reports which gather dust. The big question on everyone's lips is this: Will this committee actually lead to justice, or will it be just another political exercise designed to quiet the noise until the next crisis hits? Committee Chair Ian Cameron addressed that concern directly. He said, "The public must be brought into this process, not just informed after the fact, but kept in the loop from start to finish. That means regular updates, transparency around how evidence is gathered and assessed, and a commitment to hold anyone found guilty of misconduct accountable, regardless of their rank or political affiliations." So, what comes next? Next Wednesday, Parliament is set to hold another joint meeting to finalize the terms of reference for the ad hoc committee. That's where the scope of the investigation will be defined, what will be looked at, who will be called to testify, and how the findings will be handled. And you can bet the country will be watching. General Mkhwanazi lit a match under a fragile system, and now it's up to Parliament to either fan the flames of reform, or smother them in bureaucracy. The ball is rolling, and for now, at least, it seems like something real might finally come out of the chaos. Whatever happens next, this moment matters. Because trust in the system doesn't get rebuilt overnight. It gets rebuilt step by step, action by action. And this ad hoc committee might just be one of those steps, if the people at the helm are willing to walk the talk. We'll be watching.